Reimagining NGO Relationships with Cooperatives, a report from rural villages in Nepal, by Mari Nishitani. Published in Grassroots Economic Organizing, August 21, 2025. On her last commute, she sprained her ankle. Still, every morning in the beginning of the month, Lalmai, the president of Mili Julie Cooperative, walks 2 hours down steep hills to reach its office. Halfway there, she pauses to rest, smiles through the pain, and says, "See, we have to have love, you know?" Behind her face, I see the resilience of enduring a lifetime of gender and caste-based oppression as a Dalit in Nepal. Yet, she continues to pour her passion into transforming the economic lives of women in her village through the collective power of the Mili Julie Cooperative. In Nepal, more than 34,000 cooperatives, known locally as Sarkari, have sprung up over the past few decades. With principles of democratic member control and economic participation, the cooperative stands apart from similarly ubiquitous organizations in Nepal, NGOs. NGOs have long been criticized for creating projects based on funder or philanthropist interests and failing to reflect the needs of communities. In theory, cooperatives, owned and governed by local members, should offer a stronger voice to communities and drive deeper social transformation. During my month of fieldwork in rural Nepal to see the role of cooperatives in community-led development, however, I saw a more complicated reality. What I didn't know is that cooperatives in Nepal are deeply interconnected with NGOs through their funding, training, and oversight. This article compares 2 women's cooperatives, the NGO-led Atipriya Cooperative and the self-formed Mili Julie Cooperative. The comparison reveals how NGO involvement, or its absence, can shape members' sense of ownership, leadership, entrepreneurship, and adaptability to change. The story of the Atipriya Social Entrepreneur Women's Cooperative began in 2015 when an INGO's Nepal initiative came to the village. The NGO gave advice for the women in the community to start saving money as a group to establish a cooperative. Several women who shared the vision of improving their economic circumstances began collectively joining the Mela, the household labor exchange system for agricultural tasks. Using this system, they could earn 100 rupees for an hour of tilling other people's cornfields. After a couple of months, they formed a cooperative to start offering loans to women for goat farming. The NGO provided various trainings and necessary materials to help initiate or improve goat management. Over the last decade, Atipriya Cooperative has grown to serve more than 400 members, built an office, and adapted a more complex governance structure taught by the NGO. In the NGO's evaluation matrix, Atipriya Cooperative ranks among the highest in overall scores, including maturity and governance. Yet, during my conversations with its members, one thing kept troubling me. They did not seem to frame the cooperative's establishment as the result of their own initiative. Instead, they often spoke about it in a passive voice. Whenever I asked why Atipriya Cooperative was formed, many replied, "Because NGO told us to collect the money," or "NGO said to open a cooperative, so we opened it." Their answers pointed to compliance with the NGO's external instructions. This lack of sense of ownership and initiative is now having clear consequences. Over several years, with support from the NGO, Atipriya Cooperative has brought about significant changes to the community. The community now has a non-extractive, trustworthy loan service, enabling members to start and expand their businesses effectively. Moreover, goat farming has significantly increased household income. The NGOs contributed successfully to the functioning of the cooperative. By focusing on a single enterprise, goat farming, the NGO was able to concentrate investments and resources. This singular focus, paired with holistic support for all aspects of goat management, from livestock health to monetization, enabled local members to deepen their expertise and maintain improved practices long after the initial training. However, now, after a decade of the cooperative's operation, the community is faced with a new challenge. First of all, goat prices have dropped by half over the past few years due to market saturation. One woman shared, During the peak time, there used to be 2 to 3 trucks coming every week to buy goats, but now the price is low, and I'm alone. My husband is abroad. The more goats you have, the more grass you need to cut for fodder. It was too much, so I sold most of them. Now I only keep 4. When I visited the areas, most women had already reduced the size of their farms. Alarmingly, as they scale down their goat farming businesses, they are not taking up any alternative income generation activities, but are instead reverting to the way they had lived before the NGO and the cooperative. To diversify income sources in the village, the NGO recently introduced training on vegetable crops such as red pepper and ginger, and has even provided a turmeric grinding machine to encourage value-added production. However, few women participated. Many said they were already busy managing crops for subsistence. In addition, with most men working outside the village, these farming responsibilities have fallen entirely on women. The failure to adopt strategies for the changing economic and labor market shows that the NGO's template business is not sufficient for women to continue to thrive in shifting conditions. After a week in Bimad village studying the Atapriya cooperative, I moved to Durbar village to learn about Milli-Juli Women's Cooperative. This cooperative offers a very different story, marked by strong leadership, agency, and innovation. The story of Milli-Juli begins with Lalmai Mijar, not an NGO. Growing up, Lalmai felt deep frustration over the inequality between the poor and the rich in her village. She identified the root cause as the fact that the poor people's only option to escape poverty was to borrow money from the wealthy at high interest rates, 3 to 5%, which only trapped them further in debt. After hearing about the cooperative model, she began talking to her friends about starting a women's cooperative. With 9 friends as founding members who shared her vision, Lalmai went on to convince surrounding villages to form working groups and join the cooperative. Some villages were a 2 to 3 hour walk away, and she often had to make multiple visits to educate people. After 83 days of painstaking, passionate work, the 9 founding members successfully mobilized 25 people. These women started by saving 5 Nepali rupees each month and gradually increased the amount. Within a couple of months, they were able to offer low-interest, non-extractive loans. Over time, the cooperative grew from 25 to 400 members, established an office, and expanded its services and training programs. Another essential piece of Milli-Juli's story is that the founder and current president, Srimai, along with 5 of the 9 founding members, are Dalits. While neither Srimai, the former president, nor Lalmai explicitly named Dalit empowerment as the cooperative's primary goal, their focus on economic inequality naturally reflects caste dynamics, given the deep entanglement of caste and poverty in Nepal. Dalit women taking initiatives and creating an inter-caste movement is truly remarkable, given how widely prevalent caste-based discrimination is in Nepali society to this day. When I talked to Milli-Juli's members, it became apparent that they have a clear, grounded understanding of the cooperative's purpose, to overcome economic inequality and foster women's development in the village. This contrasts sharply with Bimad, where members were preoccupied with goat farming and the NGO itself, which obscured the larger purpose of the cooperative. When I walked around the village, I was surprised by diverse enterprises. In recent years, the Durbar village has prioritized red pepper production as a key economic strategy. Today, Durbar has more than 4 commercial-scale red pepper farms, along with 3 large chicken farms. One woman, who runs an egg farm while working full-time as a school teacher, taught herself the business and now supplies most of the community's eggs. Another chicken farm is owned by the village storekeeper, who also runs a commercial cucumber and tomato farm. The third belongs to my host family, who learned poultry farming through Milli-Juli's training. Lalmaiji, a president of the cooperative, also introduced me to the only sheep farm in the village, with about 70 sheep. The wife on the farm had gained the inspiration to start sheep farms through the field trip hosted by the cooperative. Overall, livestock operations in Durbar are larger in scale than those in Bimad. What has Milli-Juli done that encouraged members to actively adopt new business strategies and thrive? One of the factors became clear during my fieldwork. When I attended 2 training sessions, I saw a familiar pattern in both instances. A similar pattern emerged. The lecture had minimal visual aids with no photos and little engagement. There was only a large sheet of paper on which the lecturer occasionally wrote key terms and some basic diagrams, which did not feel adequate to bring the concept to life. Moreover, the lecture style was entirely one-directional. There were almost no opportunities for discussion. At one session, when the male instructor asked women to recall a concept from the week before, no one responded until he scolded them. "None of you are paying attention. Look at your notes." The participants reluctantly opened their notebooks and recalled the concept. I noticed women falling asleep in the back row or constant chatting, which are signs of disengagement and disinterest. Later, in my BMOD fieldwork, I learned that the municipality is offering another 30 days of skill training in which women learn a variety of skills from constructing a toilet to mending clothes. I asked a few women who attended the training what they had learned from that municipal skills training. They simply replied, "Goi," a vague, indifferent phrase that loosely translates to, "I don't know," or "not much." One member of Atipriya Cooperative shared her critique of the trainings. "There is so much training from the municipality, NGO, and cooperative, but people who receive the training are not doing anything. They're not using the skills to help others." The long history of NGO interventions has left behind a legacy of putting all of the work of empowerment into training, often failing to shift mindsets or inspire real transformation. Mealy-Julie, however, offers an alternative: cooperative organized field trips. Instead of top-down lectures, members themselves decide what skills they need, where to go, and who to learn from. This reflects a shift in power and agency, from being passive recipients or learning prescribed solutions to active participants who identify what's lacking in the community and learn skills. Many of the cooperative's members who have been on field trips describe the trips as feeling like a girls' trip. Lalmaiji, a founder and president of the Mealy-Julie Cooperative, even showed me a TikTok video from one of the excursions, featuring dancing and horseback riding. "It's for a field trip, but why not go have fun too?" she asked, referring to the joy of sightseeing, relaxing, and strolling. It's easy to imagine how field trips were a type of learning that was vibrant, joyful, and sustained through genuine engagement, qualities that are often missing in conventional training. I want to emphasize the urgent need to reimagine the relationship between NGOs and cooperatives. Instead of NGOs or funders defining projects based on their own interests, for example, some NGOs have targets to form a certain number of cooperatives, leading to forced creation, support and resources should be offered at the community's request. Community members should be able to seek any form of assistance, whether technical or financial, and the NGO should respond by meeting those needs. If community members are unsure of their needs, NGOs should help equip them to hold discussions, solve problems, and make informed requests. Before the establishment of the Mealy-Julie Cooperative, the INGO Red Cross visited the village to conduct a participatory mapping workshop during which the villagers identified existing resources and unmet needs in the community. One outcome of the workshop was the realization of which households had toilets and which did not. This sparked collaboration among villagers to ensure that every household had access to a toilet. For families who could not afford to build one, the community requested financial assistance from the Red Cross. With the Red Cross covering half of the construction cost, the village achieved its goal of installing a toilet in every household within a year. This story reflects an ideal dynamic in which community members not only absorb knowledge from NGO-led workshops, but also act on that knowledge, demonstrating proactive problem-solving. It shows the NGO as a capacity builder and resource that the community can draw upon to meet its own needs. An NGO funded by the Global North and operating in the Global South should base its model and philosophy on reparation rather than acts of generosity. The narrative among cooperative members should not be about NGOs generously giving, but rather about the responsibility of the Global North, acknowledging that poverty and inequality were shaped by its actions, and that NGO support is a way to repair the harm. This research was part of the Pitzer in Nepal Study Abroad program, where I spent 10 days in each village, both of which had active women's cooperatives at their core. End of Reimagining NGO Relationships with Cooperatives by Mari Nishitani. For more articles like this, visit our website at geo.coop. That's geo.coop. Thanks for listening.